Hey, well, I've got a great episode coming up here today. A real leader and practitioner in CI, Courtney Scarrabelotti. This episode has it all. Really a great one for anyone who's looking to help their organisation move forward. And Courtney takes you through the journey of how they did it. We'll have a copy of Courtney's vivid vision up on the web, also a case study from the site up on the Enterprise Excellence podcast. But let's get into the show. This is a cracker.
Welcome to the Enterprise Excellence podcast, where we share knowledge from global experts in how to create high-performance, agile cultures of continuous improvement and innovation. Cultures where employees wake up smiling and excited to go to work and make a difference. Cultures where leaders feel they have the time to proactively serve the growth of themselves and others.
I'm your host, Brad Jevons, coming to you from Brisbane, Australia. By improving our organisations, we create a better future for generations to come. An economy where our children and grandchildren can experience the joy of owning their first home. An environment where they can enjoy holidays on clean beaches and marvel at the beauty of nature. A future where they feel safe, respected, and empowered to make a difference at work, bringing that energy home to their families and communities. This show is proudly brought to you by the Enterprise Excellence Community and Group, which is focused on helping organisations create this better future through this podcast, our community, where you can engage with global experts, tour best practice sites, and also our workshops focused on the most important topics to truly help your organisation improve into the future for those it serves. Visit enterpriseexcellencegroup.com.au to learn more. Welcome to episode 192 of the Enterprise Excellence Podcast.
It is such a pleasure to have Courtney Scarrabelotti on the show with us today. Courtney's career at RUD Chains Australia has been marked by a relentless pursuit of efficiency and quality. As all good family businesses go, Courtney started working in RUD at the age of 9 and has been able to work through all sorts of roles throughout her career there to end up in the position of continuous improvement manager. That's just been the fit for Courtney. With an undergraduate degree in business and finance and behavioural science psychology, Courtney's passion is to support teams to implement CI initiatives that are people first and process driven. Courtney leverages her diverse experience to optimize RUD's business and processes. Her expertise in lean methodologies and strong project management skills have led to significant improvements in productivity, safety, cost and reduction, which we're going to explore throughout this episode. Let's get into it. Courtney, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks so much for having me, Brad. I'm excited to be here.
Same. From the moment we met all those months ago, Courtney, I'm like, I've got to get you on the show so that listeners can learn. It's great. But Courtney, if we go right back on it with RUD, like why did RUD head down the path of a cultural-based excellence journey and really sink into this place of, working to make lean stick and continuous improvement stick culturally?
So we started off very much a box in, box out business. So we were importing product from Germany and then shipping it here locally in Asia Pacific. So that was primarily what we were doing. And then we took the different tact of adding an engineering department to add on to our product sales. And from then, a natural progression was to add then manufacturing. So everyone in the business hadn't had really a manufacturing experience before, and it was complete organic growth. It was just the right step for RUD at that time to diversify what we offered and also keep building the service that we have that goes along with our products. So we got to a size where we said, we just can't manage this anymore. There's people running everywhere. They don't know what they're doing. We're trying to use an Excel colored spreadsheet to run things, and we don't have the right equipment because we're trying to employ the best people, but then they're coming here saying, what sort of manufacturing are you actually having here? And then we were able to then use a consultant to then help us understand the value of lean and lean thinking, lean principles. And then we started this journey to really implement and transform how we're doing business so that we stay profitable and we stay relevant without all the headaches we were having before. So that's how we ended up on this path.
That's cool. That's cool. And Courtney, I'm guessing people first, which really just angles you so much into that cultural based respect for people, involving people in the get-go. Has that always been part of the RUD culture, or was that something that you built as part of this journey to make sure that it's not just tools based and, set to sort of fall over at some stage?
So it's always been in our foundation. So our head office is based in Germany, and they're in the 5th generation of family-run operations, and they're having the 150 year celebration next year. So, and then of that, they saw the cultural alignment with my grandfather, who originally started the business, and he's always been people first. Unfortunately, he's passed away since. My father then took over the company, and he's the ultimate people person. So he's always been focused on people choose to come to RUD. So we need to respect that, and we need to understand that they have a choice to go somewhere else. And why not make this a great experience for everyone who comes through RUD, whether they stay or not. So we've got staff who've worked with us for over 25 years. And it's something that we're proud of and that we respect and, appreciate that people have put that much time and energy of their lives into RUD. So the people first has always been there. The process driven has not.
Yeah, wow.
So that's kind of where we were relying on people doing the right thing, or people remembering or knowing or training others to get things going. And that's fine when you've got 10 people. It's really easy to understand. But then we had this rapid growth. We're at 90 people, and you just can't keep going the way that you were before. And that's where we added that process driven side of things.
I love it. And it's so cool that you had that respect for people and the culture, which we all know is often the hardest piece to get. And then you've built on that with the process. So, Courtney, what are the key components of this journey that you've led? You've had this foundation of respect for people. And then what are the key elements that you put in place to, build that capability around process and continuous improvement throughout the organization?
So one thing I think that has been really different from us compared to others is that I'm in the business 40 hours a week driving this. So we had a consultant who was helping us a little bit at the start, but to really get something stick, it has to be in your business. I'm a firm believer that consultants have their role to play, and they're amazing. But if we don't have that one person who's the executor, or the person who's then going in and making things happen, it really doesn't stick. So, and we built it in by having small projects start to get that traction, and then we started to tackle more and more. So we've been on this journey for probably 4 or 5 years now, and it doesn't come easy. And we know everyone tells you, you have that big growth at the start, and then you sort of slump off as you get a little bit complacent, or you think you've got it, and then you come back. So we've had a real resurgence in the last 18 months to bring everything back up to the standard. And I guess we're passionate about first people understanding the strategic direction of the company, so they can buy in and understand, well, why do I need to change or be different, or how is this going to help me in my role and eventually help the company, as well as then setting up the systems to give people clear responsibility and ownership. One person can't do everything and can't keep everything afloat. So if we start delegating that responsibility and people feeling like they have ownership, then it seemed to stick for us. And that's probably where we fell over in that little bit in between starting and having that great growth, falling off a little bit, and then having the resurgence, is that real ownership and accountability for those in the team.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So you've got that position in the business where you and the leadership team really own and lead the journey. And then it's all connected to strategic direction. And I know that you've got that strategic cadence going for execution. And then you really look to delegate responsibility and ownership down to right down to the front line to be able to create that engagement, responsibility, ownership, and accountability.
Definitely. And that's where we've seen the biggest transformation, is giving the ownership to each level, and they have their part to play. So it takes then the responsibility off leadership team or off that one person to make sure that everything stays as it should. And I guess focusing on what's important as well. There's heaps of different strategies. There's heaps of different ways you can do it, but we just tried to boil it down with what's the most important thing, make sure they're always running, and then do the improvements on top of those.
Yeah, it's really good. It's really good. And it's too, Courtney, it's so good that you guys really lent in on that, getting ownership and engagement and accountability down. It just seems to be such a common pattern in the companies that really go forward. And I could sense it when we caught up at site a while back. Good. I wouldn't mind coming back to the strategic direction of the company and how you've set up this execution cadence. What did you do? How do you do that? What did you do to get a strategic planning process going, but then get this execution cadence that actually allows you to see things through and overcome challenges as you go?
hmm So we've kind of modeled ourselves off Cameron Herald. So he has a strategy around vivid vision or painted picture, and it's about bringing the future into the reality now so you can do something about it. So we have a 3-year strategy that we project out into the future of what we look, feel, and act like with key company goals. And then that's communicated to the whole business. So we have a launch day where it goes out to the whole business, and Peter, our managing director, then shares that vision and strategy on how we can do this. Then we bring it down from the 3-year strategy into a 1-year plan, which typically happens at a leadership level, and that's communicated as well. And then we have the quarterly goals, and then we have the monthly. So the team then buys in at a daily, weekly, monthly level, and then we have a quarterly meeting where we update on the progress. So it's really about eating the elephant, so breaking it down into those bite-sized pieces and being able to step forward. And it's always, you don't connect the dots until you're looking back, but we just finished in June 30, we finished our previous 3 years and we launched the next 3 years. And we did this little infograph of all the things that we'd achieved in that time, and it was unbelievable. So if you don't have that focus on where you want to go, anywhere will do. And we want to make sure that we're going in the right direction and we connect everything back. So people have the ownership and the responsibility, like, hey, an example, we're doing 100 pallet spaces at the moment, so we're getting tight on space in our warehouse. So that then I can explain easily to the team that links to our same site supercharge. So in the next 3 years, we're not moving site, we're staying here. So how can we supercharge the sites that we've got, and what can we do more with? And so then they can see, oh, okay, what I'm doing today, moving these pallets around or throwing these things in the bin or scrapping them, then links to our site being optimized, which means that we then don't have to invest in a new building and we can stay in a centralized location, and just makes everything too easy to connect the dots from every level of the business, rather than often you see that it's all in the managing director or leadership team's head and everyone else is like, they're just telling me to do stuff and I'm doing it, but I'm not sure why. So that's something we're really passionate about.
It's brilliant, Courtney. It's so great to see you've got that cadence of planning and execution going and review with your monthly, quarterly.
Mm-hmm.
Courtney, one thing I've found personally with a lot of organisations is they find it hard if they didn't have the cadence. They find it hard to get the cadence going. It sort of seems they want to do it,
Mm-hmm.
and then it sort of falls over and starts to drift.
Yep.
And then we sort of go back to firefighting and chaos.
Mm-hmm.
How did you avoid that at RUD and not take that journey that I see so many companies do, which is just drift back to fighting fires and chasing your nose?
Yeah, I guess, I mean, nothing comes without its challenges. We definitely had that at the start. You run it and yeah, it's going to be great. And then you look back 6 months later and okay, it's not how we wanted it to be. And then you resurrect it and you try again. So I guess the biggest thing that's set for us is that every team works the same. So it's very consistent. So every team has a huddle every morning without excuse. Then each team has a weekly update. For some departments, it's just an update from the supervisor manager back to the group. In others, it's a meeting where they interact a little bit more depending on which team it is. And then they've got those monthly meetings to, again, make sure we're holding the cadence. But ultimately, it comes back to the leadership team, supervisors, managers who are owning that, and they have a deliverable on it. So now it's just common practice. I can't imagine a day where every team doesn't just meet. And it's changed really all that firefighting because we have it in a sequence where all the teams go first thing in the morning. So anywhere from 6:30 to 8:30, and then leadership team meet for a roundup at 9:15. So it means that then in one snapshot, the leadership team can see where every department is, what's happening, if there's any process, people, technology, quality, or safety issues, they all get raised then and there and can be resolved, and we can change priorities quickly. Whereas if we're not talking and we change that communication, everyone's just chasing their tail. So that's been super helpful in us in driving the message both up and down the chain to get outcomes done.
It's great. I love it, Courtney. So really the essence I pick up in there, it's been leadership owned and leadership led it to get, with yourself on that leadership team. Mm-hmm. To really, I guess you mentioned there's been the odd time that things have struggled, mm-hmm. but the leadership team's pulled it back together and kept going, and now it's part of habit. It's like just part of habit. Yep. It's that journey to get to habit that seems to be where so many companies lose their way with it, because it mm-hmm. just doesn't get to that position of being habitual.
hmm We use leader standard work as the way to make things habit. So we have daily, weekly, monthly lists of what the core things are need to happen, and then we red and green them every day. So that starts right at the leadership level. We red or green, did every team talk about the vivid vision this week? Did every team talk about the culture and give an example? Did every team have their 5 meetings this week for their huddles? So we really put that ownership back, and we use a simple red or green process. Did it happen or did it not? Red isn't bad. It just means there's something not going right. So how can we improve it, or what do we need to work on? And by having that accountability, there's only one line item per person. So it can't be, and so if it's the same thing 5 times, it's got 5 names against it. So then everyone has to check red or green. And we found that's the way to sort of get that rhythm. And then once you got the rhythm, then it just becomes what you do. And then you can change the frequency of check out. So instead of having to check something daily, you might check it weekly or monthly as it starts to embed itself in the business.
Yeah, great. It's a great approach to form those habits and get those systems in play and happening. Courtney, you mentioned as part of your journey that you've really focused on the strategy and then getting the goals and measures and people connected to it, and then you've got the execution rhythms, running the meetings, huddles, and then up to your monthly and quarterly reviews.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's really mature of the organization that, like, I love the work of Mike Rother when you read about Toyota Carter, getting those aspirational people connected to aspirational goals, starting everyone moving towards it, and then the lean tools and techniques just happen from that. Is that what you found, that the lean tools have become that, like, okay, now this will help me get to that goal that I'm going to this quarter?
100%. So we use the vivid vision as the what, and then we use these tools as the how. So how are we going to get there? The vision's set. This is where we want to be. And because we paint quite a clear picture, and I'm happy to share RUD's vivid vision if listeners want to have a look in more detail. But it really does spell out the feeling and the essence and what does it look like. It paints this real picture of where we want to be. So, and it's not specific in terms of KPI, this. It's that really, how do we get where we want to be and what does that look like? And then the tools are just a method of getting there. And there's heaps of tools you can use. You can use systems, you can use process, you can use lean tools, you can use technology, you can use AI, you can use whatever, but we know where we're going. So it's easy to then apply. And what I've seen in other businesses, or we've even had it ourselves if we've lost a little bit of that North Star, is we just start doing projects. With no real connection to where we want to be, or you spend too much time focused on the projects that aren't going to move the needle. Maybe it's a squeaky wheel. Maybe it's someone who just complains the most about that system or process that you feel is not working, but it's not actually making a difference to where we want to end up. So, and I feel like a lot of the time when I was early on in my career, I was just chasing my tail, doing as many projects as possible, as many at the time. Whereas now I feel like I can laser in and say, if these are the top 5 things we need to do, what am I doing to get there now? And it's easier to say no. I find that's the biggest thing. When you know where you want to go, it's so easy to say no, or to even explain to people like, hey, I love that idea, but at the moment we're focused on going here and that's not going to help us get there. So let's put it in the parking lot and we'll come back to it, but it's not right now. So others can also feel involved in that decision-making process and sort of connect the dots themselves in saying like, oh, I get why I'm not getting funded for this project, or they're not giving me the attention I feel that I need because it's not aligned with our strategic direction. So I feel like that's a really good tool as well to use, because it's easy to get a million projects on the list and which one do I do first?
I love it. So you've got that painted picture or that vivid vision, and then you've got your aspirational goals, and then it's about the right projects and improvements to help us all move there. I love it. It's a very simple formula with the right meetings around it, day to day, week to week, monthly, quarterly, yearly, 3 yearly. It's cool. Really, really great drumbeat. It sounds amazing. Courtney, you mentioned as part of the journey, and that this really helped you actually, was really then delegating ownership and responsibility and accountability that comes from that. Do you mind explaining that journey where that wasn't in place, or was tightly in place, or was heavily in place, and then how did you go about doing that then, and what benefits has it given you since?
So as I mentioned, we use that leader standard work, and we have that across every level in the business, and it's that rhythm of daily, weekly, monthly and then on, of course, quarterly and annual of what needs to be done. So previously it was all informal, or maybe it was written in a work instruction somewhere that someone has to do this every day. And we can use a simple example, like maintenance is something that always falls over in my experience. When things get busy or people feel like they're under pressure, maintenance tasks always seem to drop off, and we felt that a lot. And as you know, when maintenance drops, then we start seeing other problems around the business, which then exacerbate what's going on, and you make yourself busier and have less time because you got all this mess happening. So what we decided to do is start with the maintenance of, okay, what do we need to keep the site in a standard that we want to have it? What 5S do we need to uphold? Who's going to be the one person responsible for it? So there's only one name against it. And how often do they need to check that that standard is being upheld or do that task? And then we basically build out a 30-day calendar, and you red or green at your frequency. So it's daily. Did I do it green? If I didn't, red, it's okay. And then we said, there's a flag. If you get 3 reds in a row, then the supervisor needs to inspect what's going on. Maybe they don't have the right resources or time or whatever it might be. And then we just started to add to it. So it started off as a maintenance tool, really, site maintenance. And then we started to add, okay, someone needs to check this report that the information's correct in the ERP. Someone needs to make sure that we've had a fun event every month. Someone needs to make sure that we've, implemented this 5S project and it's still standing to the standard. We need to have someone who goes around once a year and inspects to make sure all the 5 standards are still correct. 5S, often the photos are great at the start and they don't look like that in 1 month, 2 month, 3 months. So it's really getting that accountability for each person, and everyone has their daily tasks that they have to do. And they go in red and green. And then each morning at those huddles, we open up the sheet and make sure that everyone's done what they need to. Any reds we discuss, like, hey, do you need a hand? Or so-and-so was away, it got missed. How do we catch back up? And then it just starts to roll from there. And it's something that we've had really humming for about the last year. And anything new that comes up, system or process wise, we then go, oh, someone needs to do that. Someone needs to check it. And then we add it to the list. So you'll often hear around the site, we'll be like, oh, add that to leader standard work, or LSW, we call it. So then we go and add it, add the name, add the frequency, and then check it. And then we dial up or down the frequency depending on how well that's being maintained. So if it's going great and it's working, then we dial it back to fortnightly or monthly. If it's not, then we dial it up and say, no, someone needs to check this every day to make sure that it's right. And we found that it alleviated then all the other complication of the, oh, I thought you were doing that, I didn't, or I didn't know I had to do that every day, I thought every second day. Like, there's no confusion. It's really clear on what's expected, and people can manage their own time. As long as you get it done by end of shift, that's fine. So the team can then engage. And what I love most is there's the change. If someone leaves the business, adding the new person in, you basically then rearrange who's doing what. And then that person can understand straight away what's expected of them. Versus a new starter usually comes in like, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing or checking. This actually says, and from day one, they can then start their inspections and someone will train them on what's expected as they go through the process. So it's been super handy.
Courtney, I love it. I love it how you've got the right leader standard work, or the right standardized work at the right level with the checklist, red and green. You've got the check and act in your organization because you've got the check through the leader standard work or the standardized work. Mm-hmm. And then you've got the act because you're incorporating it into your huddles at the right level. Mm-hmm. So you monitor it in the huddles. And I guess if something's falling off, like you said, you act on it and capture that action to increase the frequency, decrease the frequency, mm-hmm. get a supervisor involved. I love it. It's really cool to hear. Because a lot of the lean journeys that companies try to deploy, they totally miss the check and act. They plan something, mm-hmm. do it, and then don't put a check and act in, and it just falls over. So mm-hmm. that's really cool. I can see
and I mean, too, we don't use any complicated system. It's literally an Excel sheet that we have with the columns, and then we have a standard that R means red and it colors itself, and G means green and it colors itself. So everyone in the business can engage in it. It's not a complex system. You don't have to remember a login. You don't have to find somewhere to put it. It's really simple. And I think that's what helps with the engagement as well, because a lot of our operational team, they don't have access to a computer all the time. So there's just one computer on the floor that's always open with it, and they just come in, mark their red, green, and it's something that might take them 2 or 3 seconds to mark off their tasks and keep moving with the day. So it's a really simple process where I think previously we might have made it too complicated and you have to log in this system with a date and time and check this box and do something else. The simpler, the more engagement we've found we get. So it's really good.
Oh, I love that. The keep it simple. Yeah, brilliant, brilliant. So, Courtney, you've had this journey where you've been on journey for 5 or so years as you went
Hmm.
into manufacturing.
Hmm.
You really leaned into creating a vivid vision through that painted picture approach. You've
Hmm.
got the cadences of planning and execution from front line to top.
Hmm.
And then you've got leader standard work that really holds it all together, but also allows you to delegate responsibility and authority and ownership through that
Hmm.
leader standard work. So that's how you're able to have that down to that front line and really, and I guess you mentioned every level, like every
Mm.
level has their
Yeah.
standard work.
Yep.
That's really
Exactly.
cool. I love it. So, Courtney, based on your journey and your experience, what would be your 2-minute tip that you would give a CI manager or a senior leader looking to want to deploy lean or continuous improvement throughout the culture to create a culture of continuous improvement in their organization?
Well, I think it really goes back to that people first, process driven. I've come across other CI managers who are amazing at the process and process engineers or those sorts of things, which are incredible, but sometimes miss the piece of that people first. So, and I've found the best outcomes I've had is when I engage everyone at every level. I like to get stuff done and I like to get it done quickly. So early on, I definitely was focused on the outcome and the process and what needed to be done. And I often left the people side of things at the wayside, which caused frustration for everyone. I was frustrated as a CI manager because I'm like, why can't you just get it done? And then they're frustrated at me, like, why are you forcing me into this corner to change the way I'm doing things? I don't even know what you're talking about. So that real slowing down and bring the people element into it. And whether that's the strategic direction, whether that's the project scope, whether it's just the human connection of like, I understand this is hard. I think often enough we don't acknowledge that. We just expect people to be on board and be like, oh, why aren't you keeping up or why aren't you wanting to change? Actually acknowledging that this is a big change for them. As CI managers, we're making change all the time, so it's not a big deal. But to some line operators, they've done it this way for 15 years. And we're now telling them to click this button instead of that one. It's going to take time and they're not going to want to do it without a pretty good explanation. So we've also found we've had really good success with the people first process driven in terms of bringing the value stream mapping. And so you can see where you fit in the process and have a bit more understanding and respect for those before and after you in flow. That if I'm expecting you to change, it's because it's saving time here or here. And so people buy into it a bit more. Whereas if I just come to you and say, look, you need to be doing this now because of XYZ, they're like, I don't really want to. Well, that's not making my life easier. Whereas if they can see the big picture of how it affects everyone, then they're more likely to follow that process or be part of it. And I think, yeah, patience, it's something I'm not good at. The patience of like letting things evolve somewhat naturally instead of forcing it through, because people need time to, and different people in different departments work at different paces. And when you start to understand that and engage with that, then the process becomes easier, because the people are engaged instead of trying to drag people along. There's always a few you have to pull. But instead of dragging the majority, most people are on board and they're happy to buy into the process because they fully understand it and they appreciate it and they want to be part of the journey. So
Yeah.
I guess that's kind of where I see the power is.
I love it. And I love too that you've brought that back in, Courtney, because I guess we spoke earlier on in the episode about that respect for people that's been part of RUD always. And
Mhm.
then it's great you've highlighted the importance of still leading with that as you deploy out this journey. Whereas I guess as listeners may think about their own company, you'd have to think, where are you at with respect for people right now? Because as you're saying, that could be a real roadblock to you being able to go forward, which I'm guessing that comes back to leadership again. I guess, Courtney, it's been part of your family and part of your history for a long
Mm.
time, but
Mm.
I'm guessing it comes back to a leadership shadow. Have you got any other thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it's also about that genuine connection and want to understand that person, that role, that process, and really digging into the detail. Because if they feel like you truly understand what they're going through, then they will respect you more when you're offering a different solution or helping them solve a problem or moving forward on something. So I feel like that genuine connection is what changed it for me. And by no means has it been perfect. And we always put people first, and it's great. Like it still is a business, and we still have the commercial side of it. So I'm not saying that we just pander to the people and hope the process happens the other side, but it's just keeping it front of mind. And that's that sense check as well. So when we have our quarterly meetings, are we engaging the right people at the right level? Have we invested enough energy to help people understand? It's not their fault if they don't understand the vivid vision. It's ours because we as a leadership team haven't communicated well enough or haven't engaged them enough for them to feel like they're part of it. So it's complex, and definitely, I mean, it sounds easy when someone talks about it. 5 years in, have your leader standard work, write your vivid vision, and it's all easy. It's not. And we work hard every day at maintaining it, but these systems help it stand up a bit longer than if it's just one person doing their best and the rest of the team isn't fully engaged or fully don't understand their role to play.
Yeah, it's great, Courtney. And Courtney, what's been a recent insight for you on this journey? Like, what would you say has been the most recent aha moment?
Keep coming back to that vision. So I always have the vision front of mind, but I'm not always good at articulating that to the next layer, or particularly on projects. So before I even start a project meeting, I'm like, this project we're meeting, and if I use 100 pallet spaces again, so we're meeting about finding 100 pallet spaces in our warehouse. Why we're doing that is because it connects to our vivid vision, which is optimized warehouse layout, which then hits on same site supercharge. So guys, we're not moving. This is a site we have. We need to optimize. So how we're going to go through this is then 100 pallet spaces, blah, 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 and really making that direct link, because I just assumed that people would put the dots together. But they're not. They've got their own lives, families, work complications, things that are happening on their level that they're not thinking that way. So it's sort of beating that drum. And until someone mocks me for saying it, I know they don't get it. But as soon as they start mocking me, like, yeah, cool, we know it's for the 100 pallet spaces, we know it's same site supercharge, we know we're not moving, then I'm like, okay, you got the message. So yeah. Think previously, because we have a beautiful document that we use to communicate, and we talk about it at the quarterly and the monthly. But then I also think I'm in this all day, every day, and they're not. So how can I bring it front of mind for them before we start? And if we use that at the sort of start of each meeting, everyone's like, okay, yep, reset. I'm in that mind frame, and then we can move forward.
That's great. You're placing yourself. I just thought while you're talking there, Courtney, like back to Jim Collins' constancy of purpose. But, for you guys, it's constancy of vivid vision. That's where the purpose sets. That's where the clarity is. That's the North Star. Yep. I love it. And it's great to see yourself and leaders leading it out. It is such a constancy, isn't it? Like you said, it's like you need to constantly place ourselves. Right. Let's place ourselves. Right. Yep. Now let's go. So
exactly.
Good.
It's that reset in that frame of mind. Kind of that centering of like everything else that's happened today. Let's just pause, recenter here, and then we can start again. Because oftentimes I feel like we're so busy going from this to this to this that we don't take time to stop and actually think about what we're doing and how this connects. And as soon as you lose that connection, you lose the buy-in. The warehouse team, like, I've got orders to pick. Why do you want me to move these pallets around and get rid of that scrap? And I don't know why that's covered in dust. It's not my problem. If they can connect back to it, they're actually excited about it and want to help the company achieve that. So it just changes the frame of reference.
They know they can make a difference, and they understand that. It's brilliant. Courtney, thank you so much for everything you have done and continue to do, and for sharing your knowledge and helping us create a better future. How can people reach out to you if they want to connect and talk further?
The best would be LinkedIn. So more than happy to take any connections, and from there send a message, and I'm happy to reach out. We're always open to doing tours. So we're based at Larapinta in Brisbane, Queensland. So if there's anyone locally or that who want to come and see what we're doing, I'm more than happy to share that. We want to grow the network of companies doing great things, and we can always learn from each other. So I'm really excited to open the door and invite anyone who's interested to come and visit RUD and hear a little bit more detail about what we've been doing.
Yeah, Courtney, and I'll definitely be taking up on that with the Enterprise Excellence community, and I know the AME are keen too. So if anyone's listening, you're a member of the AME or you're a member of the Enterprise Excellence community, feel free to reach out, because we'll coordinate and help Courtney with a few people at once, like a group to come through and cover a few at once. So please do. A lot of our listeners, Courtney, do cover both those groups, the AME in Australia, AME in America, and the Enterprise Excellence community. Courtney, thank you so much. Such a great episode. And I really appreciate you sharing the knowledge, really from this leadership and this practical place. It's just been amazing. It's going to help our listeners so much. Thanks.
Awesome.
Thanks for your time.
So much. Thank you.
Cheers, Courtney. Bye. What a great episode. Remember, you can go to the Enterprise Excellence Podcast website and download the Vivid Vision for RUD, and also a case study that Courtney's kindly helped us put together. For the takeaways of this episode, I was keen to just pose for you to think about your organisation and the elements that Courtney took us through. So really the first part is think about where your organisation is with truly respect for people, at all levels of the organisation and that engagement of people. The other thing I'd say is where's the organisation at with a vivid vision and purpose and goals, and then that cadence of deployment to get everyone connected to it, but also execution. Courtney spoke about her quarterly goal setting and project definition, and then the monthly review, and then the daily huddles at all levels to execute and move forward. I thought that was just a really great example of a true strategy and behaviour deployment and execution system. The next thing I'd get you to think about where is your leader standard work at, or your standardised work at all levels. Standardised work, frontline leadership, middle management, executive, to really make sure that you've got the check and act on critical things in the organisation. And how integrated is that as a visual system into your huddles at the different levels to truly make sure that check and act as part of PDCA truly sustains and keeps going. And also, where are you at with that truly enabling delegation, ownership and accountability at lower levels rather than being held at top levels in the business? And the final thing I'd say is to really, as part of the show, is just think about your organisation and where you're at with team members and being able to draw on the right tools and techniques and the right support to really help move forward towards their aspirational goals and that vivid vision. And our ability as leaders, like Courtney said, to bring it up constantly and place ourselves constantly back to that North Star with everything we're doing. I guess I really see that language from Jim Collins on constancy of purpose, but in RUD's case, it's constancy of vivid vision and really connecting back to that and helping people connect to it. So they do see how their goals are meaningful. They do see how the projects are involved in are meaningful and how they have made a difference. All the studies show that there's a major aspect of engagement, culture, and really building morale and motivation in people from frontline to top. What a great episode. Hope you enjoyed it. And thanks for listening and helping us create a better future. Bye for now.